Hello everybody, it's me. Welcome back to the video. Now, in this video, I am going to be doing something a little bit different. I've always enjoyed tier lists, and if you guys have read the title, you already know what I'm doing today. I'm going to be ranking all of the awakened forms. And I've been wanting to do this for quite a bit, but I wanted to wait until there were a bit more awakenings in the game, and now I feel like there is a definitive list of all the awakening forms right now. I want to give a little heads up. I have a very odd, like, scratchy throat, so if I'm a bit quieter during this video and you see some random little cuts, it's because I'm dying. But anyhow, let's just hop straight into the tier list. And number one on our list, I don't think I should have said number one. I'm gonna go with the tier list. I'm gonna go from the worst all the way up to the best. So put your guesses in the comments down below who you think the worst is and who you think the best is. I want to know. But yeah, without further ado, let's hop in to the worst awakening in Doodle World. And to nobody's shock, it's Hatrix. You know, Hatrix actually used to be the best awakening and probably would have stayed one of the best awakenings for a very, very long time. But, then it got gutted because people kept complaining about how broken it was and didn't let it develop, even though it had counters and quick sting and other things. I don't know, I'm pretty biased, and when it comes to people just complaining about things the second they get released. Well, the problem with Awakened Hatrix now is it just sucks. Normal Hatrix is much better than Awakened Hatrix because you can use the Lethal Ornament with Routine, which does more damage than an Enlightenment off of an Awakened Hatrix, plus a Psycho Force, and it's really unfortunate you have Elemental Resist, which is pretty much a completely useless ability. It never does anything. Only thing you could say that this thing could do is check Theaterror with Aurora Flash and Elemental Resist. Even then, you can be hit by a Theaterror's Flashing Strike, and then they awaken, and then suddenly you're just useless. There's just almost no reason to use Hatrix unless you wanted to use a super duper speedy one with just max special attack, or like not even max speed, just max special attack awakened. I don't even know if that does more damage than a base form with Lethal Ornament. It probably doesn't, but yeah, there's just literally no reason to use Hatrix Awakened. It used to be broken, and now it just unfortunately got completely gutted by people complaining about it. I definitely think it could have stayed the way it was. I didn't see many problems with it. I never struggled with dealing with it. It was just something that you had to kind of prepare for, and that's kind of the fun of PvP, but it was pretty much everywhere, so I can understand a nerf, but I just think it got nerfed a bit too much. But yeah, that was, I think, number 12 on our list. Let's hop into number 11. And next up on our list is going to be, to no one's surprise, Awaken Grotto. There is not too much that is good about Awaken Grotto. I feel like 100% right now, if it didn't lose Heal Fatten Up, this probably could have been one of the best awakenings in the entire game. I feel like a lot of the things that have gotten an awakening have been nerfed before they have actually been an awaken, or when they got an awaken. Grotto before was a very overwhelming thing to deal with. It was very, very difficult to actually fight. You could barely even deal a dent to it after it clicked one Fatten Up. It was like almost possible to break, seeing as there were no ranged fighting types in the game. Its Shield Bash was entirely free. You could use Focus with Shield Bash. It was just impossible to deal with Grotto. Nowadays, though, it's kind of, it lost Fatten Up. I don't think it has Shield Bash anymore. Like, it's definitely fallen off from its glory. And I definitely just don't think it's worth using Awaken Grotto. It definitely, if it still had Fatten Up plus Shield Bash, 1,000,000%, it would be an S tier. But yeah, unfortunately, literally 2 moves can change an entire Doodle's like playstyle, and this was it for Grotto. I still like Grotto. I've always kind of liked it, but maybe in the future when it gets Adrenaline, it could be really cool as an Adrenaline sweeper with Awaken Grotto. That'd be very interesting to see, but honestly, there's just not really a point to use Grotto. Its base form is just a little bit better, seeing as you can run Crayons for more recovery. You could run, like, Thorns if you wanted to. It's really up to you. But yeah, that was number 11. Let's hop into number 10. And with number 10, we have Cryoterra. Now, I don't have a rune for Cryoterra. I know people are like, oh, you had a rune though that while back. That was like a thing I was doing, and I never got another rune. But here we have Cryoterra, and Cryoterra I don't think is honestly that bad. I mean, 130 speed with 110 offenses is insane, along with Pursuit threatening a lot of things. It's a very, very strong offensive presence. I feel like if it had hit and run, this would definitely be an A tier awakening, because it'd be super fast, it would be able to hit really hard, and stuff like JLX, Magical Shield and Crystal Wall wouldn't affect it because it has the Infiltrator ability. It's called Bypass in this game. And all the attributes of it are good, but it really lacks a solid dark stab. It has Ambush and Pursuit, and it just honestly doesn't have the strongest ability, seeing as Magical Shield, Crystal Wall, and Shale are not very popular in the game right now. I guess in the future, if Flasket becomes like popular when it's in comp, you could use Crystalline, and then you would maybe see a reason to use this, but usually it's going to run a magical based set. And plus the little nerf to Snap Freeze doesn't really help this thing either, because now it's a little bit harder to hit water types. But yeah, I think Cryoterra is honestly pretty solid. I do want to give it another try eventually. It was the first awakening I've used. But yeah, anyway, let's hop into number 9. And with number 9 here, we have Awakened Party Bug. Now, this one's a pretty fun one because I honestly really enjoy Awakened Party Bug. I think it is really fun, and it's definitely something that everyone should give a shot because it gets 150 magical attack with the Marshmallow Fedora, and it's a really fun, like, it's a really fun doodle. It's very supportive with Beast Summon and Lewis Prayer. It's nice. You can just set up Beast Summon consistently. You can heal teammates consistently. You have a nice double stab until you awaken, then it just becomes Psychokinetic Launch. You have the really awesome Marshmallow Fedora that it works well with, and it's just honestly overall a very solid doodle on its own. Given an awakening and you remove the best part about it, its trait. The best part about Party Bug is 100% its trait. This doodle takes half damage from magical attacks. Essentially, you completely wall out the entire magical side of the game, and they're not even doing that much damage to you. I've seen a Cursed Cloak max special defense Party Bug to get like 900 range defense. It's ridiculous and it's insane. And it loses that when it awakens, and it casts a spell to where your teammates take 10% less damage from magical attacks. You just lose 40% of your magical defense, and it's really just not worth it to go for. But aside with those cons, I don't think it's all too bad. Again, has Web Ball plus Psychokinetic Launch, which is pretty good. Support with Lewis Prayer and Beast Summon, and it has the Mind type, so it's only weak to Dark, Bug, Food, and Spirit, which are pretty common offensive types besides Food. Food isn't used too much. But yeah, overall I think Party Bug is fine, but it's definitely not up there with the other awakenings. Now let's hop into number 8. Predictions? And next up on the list is Morvale. Now, I think Morvale's Awaken is pretty fun. I really did enjoy it when I was using it for the first time, and I think it's a very fun awakening, though I definitely think it could have a better type. I definitely think its type is 100% holding it back. The Dark and Plant type is weak to too many things to be super duper strong. It's weak to Bug, weak to Fire, weak to Ice, which are all very good offensive typings. It's also weak to Beast. It's weak to Poison. It's weak to just way too much to be super strong. And with one of them being quad weakness to priority moves, being Quick Sting, it's very difficult to get this thing to set up and do work. Though if you're an experienced Morvale player, I definitely think you're going to be enjoying the rune, seeing as its trait also gives you a bunch of health back from your siphoning. With Siphon Soul and Life Sap, got the Sleep Spores and Enlightenment. It's honestly not bad. It's not bad. The whole idea of it is put something to sleep, set up, and click your 2 moves. Problem is, you can just send in a Bug type. Suddenly, it's completely walled. You know, send in a Plant type against Sleep Spores. It's walled. The Plant types with coverage to hit it is just doesn't work out very well. Not gonna lie, my throat started dying, but I kind of lost my train of thought. I think I was talking about its typing and how Bug types exist, and yeah, Plant types with coverage. I don't think there's any Plant types with coverage in the game that could actually hit this thing super effectively. But overall, I think Morvale is pretty solid, but I don't think it is strong enough to just compete with the other Awakenings. But yeah, that was number 8. Let's go head into number 7. And with number 7 is actually going to be a pretty surprising one. We have Mascomedy. Now, when I use Mascomedy, I don't honestly think it was that bad. The problem is how good most of the Awakenings are in this game. It's kind of crazy how strong Mascomedy is and how strong the other things are that can actually outclass it. Now here, I don't think Mascomedy is that bad. I just say that now, I don't think it's that bad. The only reason I think it's going to be lower on the list is because it is very situational, in my opinion. I think it just requires you to build a team around it, whereas other Awakenings, you can kind of just slot it in on a team and then you're all good to go. And it's meant to just be a reverse singularity attacker, which is not bad at all. If you're an experienced reverse singularity player, you're going to 100% appreciate Mascomedy. It's very, very strong. It's a very solid Awakening. I just think if an Awakening is only meant for a singular role, it's not going to be very good in any other role, because of course it's specifically designed, Mascomedy, to be a reverse singularity sweeper, or just a breaker in general. It's always been that way ever since it got its huge buff to 140 magic attack, and overall I don't think it's all that bad, but it could definitely be better. Its coverage is really, really nice. You are walled by like Morvale, so you definitely want to be careful about that. And plus the fact that it can't really hit plant types all too well is also a little bit of a weakness of it. But overall, the 150 magic attack, I'm just saying, goes crazy with reverse singularity. You're 30% stronger. It's a very solid Awakening, and I would recommend using it if you are, I think it's going to be a staple on every reverse singularity team, because there's just no reason to not use Mascomedy with reverse singularity, as it gets a good typing in dark and light after it awakens. You get a dark neutrality, which goes from your quad weakness to a neutrality. Is really, really nice. And honestly, yeah, it's not that bad. Let's hop into number 6. I think it's number 6. And with number 6, I'm actually going to be putting Thornet. Originally, I thought Thornet's Awakening was kind of bad, and I didn't think many people would want to use it. I was very wrong. I thought it was just going to be like a completely just a Ferrothorn, but no. Oh no. It is very strong. It's very hard to kill. If you don't have a fire type, Thornet Awakening can put in a lot of work against your team. And I'd say if you're a Thornet Awakening user and you don't see a fire type or just a lack of fire attacks on your opponent's team, 100% play your Thornet a lot. I definitely think if you can play your Thornet offensively whenever you don't see many fire types, is going to win you a lot more games than just... I see too many people just keep their Awakening Thornets in the back for a late game clean, and then I just end up being able to chip them down because I had like 4 things left alive versus their 1 Thornet. I really like Awakened Thornet. When I used it first, I didn't think I was going to really like it. Turns out it's one of my favorite Awakenings to use. It's very, very solid, and it does a lot of damage. It's very bulky, and it's honestly fairly quick, so you can hit and run pretty well. I do like this moveset, though you can replace Quick Sting for like Piercing Precision Dart if you want to have a way to hit ice types a bit harder. But yeah, I really do like Awakened Thornet. The only issue with it I think I have is its ability, where it just is trying to be a defensive thing, but it doesn't... I don't think it fits the role of something defensive, because it doesn't really have hard recovery, and if you want to use a defensive Awakening, you can just use Theaterror, which, speaking of Theaterror, and yeah, number 5 on our list is actually going to be Theaterror. Now, I think when I was using Theaterror, I liked it much more than I liked Mascomedy. It felt much easier to use, and you could just kind of slot it in on a team, and it was just very simple to use. It just felt very bulky and was very hard to get off of the field and be able to offer a lot with its Burning Orb, Dark Slash, Flashing Strike, and Rest set. It's very, very strong in that regard, and I think it's a very good Awakening to go for, because you turn your light quad weakness into a light neutrality, which is really, really nice. You then become weak to plant, but doesn't really matter. The reason I put Theaterror higher than Mascomedy, one reason is plant types, because Mascomedy can't hit plant types very hard. Plus, it's not able to awaken and then be neutral to plant, whereas Theaterror, no plant type's actually going to click a plant move on you until you awaken. Like, for example, Liazar would just go for Crystal Cut. You awaken, it's neutral, you Burning Orb, boom. It's burned. Though, I think if crits ignore burn, then that was a completely useless move, and you shouldn't have made that move. But yeah, I really do like Theoterror, and it also has an okay ability. If it didn't have this, if it had a better ability, I think it would have been higher than number 4. But Theoterror's ability is if something has a stat boost, you do 30% extra damage, which is really, really solid if you struggle with beating setup sweepers. Then this is definitely something you can use, because it also has Ignorant, so you can just ignore their boosted attack and defense stats, and then you can just click a burning orb and burn them. So if you're fighting something like Aluminja, this is going to be one of your favorite things to use, because it's just unable to die, and it takes a lot of work, and then you can just burn it, and then suddenly Aluminja is completely useless because you would completely ignore the boost with Ignorant. Has 2 pretty solid abilities. And yeah, honestly, Theoterror is pretty solid. Let's hop into number 4. And number 4 on our list is actually going to be Telena. Yes, Telena. Telena's pretty high up on this list because of how versatile and solid it actually is. I haven't seen it used too much, but whenever I do see Telena, I'm very afraid of what it can do, because it's just able to just throw out insane damage with its Thorny Thwacks, with the toxicity. It's insane. You can use a Starbreaker set with toxicity, 120 base power poison stab, so easily sweepable. You can literally just use the poison and earth set. Like, you don't even need to use plant stab. You could probably just go insane with the Starbreaker. Just use Starbreaker with Earth Surge. Just insane damage, and you're almost unwallable, because poison types, crystal types, and metal types can't switch in because they're going to take too much from Earth Surge. And overall, Telena is pretty solid. With toxicity, it's super quick. It does a lot of damage. The Thorny Thwack, Earth Surge, Disarm, Life Sap is super solid. You do some pretty good damage with like your scuba goggles, your like sticky pendant, and your amber. It's honestly fairly solid. It's very quick, and it's just honestly very good. And I've always liked Awakened Telena. But yeah, let's hop. There's not much to say besides it's just offensive and it does damage and it's hard to beat. But yeah, let's hop into number 3. And number 3 on our list is actually going to be Mothra. And I don't actually have a PvP Mothra here, so I can't just give you an entirely free set. But honestly, Mothra, people are sleeping on it. Mothra right now is being suspected for a nerf in its ability Levitate once it awakens. Awakened Mothra gets the ability Levitate, which makes it immune to ground type moves. And it becomes a poison and metal type, which has 2 weaknesses, being 1 to fire and 1 quad weak to earth. So whenever you have Levitate, you're just immune to earth. Which is kind of like Awakened Thornet, where if you don't see a fire type on the opposing team, then you can just send Mothra in and it's going to do so much work. The fact that Mothra was already one of the best Doodles before it got an Awakening, then it got an Awakening, Mothra is incredibly difficult to deal with now. It's able to do some insane damage, though I feel like that both forms of Mothra are incredibly solid. Awakened Mothra is insane. Normal Mothra is insane. Like, the normal Mothra, the reason it's so good is because of Leech. Like, it's able to heal. It's hard to get off of the field because it has insane coverage with Earth and Poison, with Shatter and Venom Bite. Chemical Cleave as well can get rid of stat boost and help you break through Skadeen easier. And overall, it's a very solid Awakening. The reason I never struggle with Mothra because I always have Malzuri around, because whenever it awakens, I can just spam Rust, and then Shatter never even breaks 50%. So it's very easy for me to break Mothras if they're overconfident. But yeah, honestly, very good Awakening. And now, we are now in the top 3. So, make your predictions down below. Who is number 2? Once you see number 2, you're going to know who number 1 is anyway. So, have your predictions. Who's number 1 and who's number 2? And if you said Awaken Archipos as the 2nd place winner, then you are correct. Archipos is so insane as its Awakening. It gets 115 speed with like 142 attack. It hits so incredibly hard and is very difficult to deal with if you don't have anything to deal with it. And I use Malzuri personally to deal with it, but the problem is this thing gets Clumsy Swing. So you can just hit me with Clumsy Swing and I'm dead. Archipos is incredibly difficult to deal with. The only issue is that it suffers from a 4-move syndrome, where it's like, if it isn't using specific moves, it's too difficult to fight. You could probably switch Iron Slash out for Clumsy Swing. Honestly, I think that's the way better way to use this thing. So switch Iron Slash for Clumsy Swing. All of a sudden, you got a nearly unwallable Awakening. It's super fast. Faster than Rotera if you're using specific equipments. If you're using equipments like this, then you can outspeed Rotera every single time, so you can never be worried about that. Problem is you don't do as much damage as I would like you to do, but honestly, Archipos is just incredibly solid. The 115, 142, Levitate gets a free switch in against Earth types, then it's able to just switch in and do some good damage. Problem is it doesn't really threaten Earth types all that well, so if you're not fighting Earth types, if you're fighting an Earth type, then you have to be careful, because you are immune to their attacks, but you can't really threaten them out with your moves. But yeah, anyway, we all know who number 1 is, so let's hop straight into it. And for number 1, we have Awakened Tufflaze. I don't even know where to start with Awakened Tufflaze of how incredibly broken it is. Awakened Tufflaze is insane. It gets Mold Breaker whenever it awakens, meaning it's completely unwallable by both Dayferno and Mothra Awakened. Even then, you can get hit. You can just punch them with Fiery Punch, Heat Bash. It's insane. It is nearly impossible to wall out Awakened Tufflaze because of how fast it is with 115 speed, how strong it is with 140 attack. It can howl and boost its attack, can shatter and break open Dayfernos. I'm not sure if this trait is bugged or if it only works against passive abilities. I'm not entirely sure. But Tufflaze is insane, and if you want a very easy awakening to pick up and learn, Tufflaze is definitely the easiest. It's incredibly broken. It is way too difficult to stop. You cannot stop Tufflaze. If you're running something like this, you're gonna have a very difficult time at beating it. Like, it's gonna be very difficult to beat something like this, where it's gonna hit super hard, and it's gonna be way too fast for you to deal with. Just nothing else to say besides it's way too strong. Its awakening with Annihilation is insane. Just way too much damage. It's able to set up with Howl. The trait is incredible. You don't trigger anything from Electrocutes, from Voltatus, and it's just crazy. You're doing 50% to almost everything. It's so strong. But with that being said, that'll be ending off this video. Hope you guys did enjoy, and let me know in your comments down below, what are your rankings from all the 12 awakenings we currently have? What are your rankings on the awakenings? But anyway, we're gonna get ready for Awakened Volt Enchant coming very, very soon. But until then, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.